MB 2028. Yes, it is indeed possible. Mr. Chairman, honorable members, distinguished guests, party executives, national, regional, and constituency, university management, lecturers, fellow student leaders, my dear TESCON executives, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, it is with a great honor and a deep sense of duty that I stand before you this afternoon as the president of the Tertiary Student Confederacy of the MPP Kumasi Technical University Chapter. Our objectives today are clear: to empower students with practical leadership skills, promote active youth participation in governance and national development, build confidence and decision-making abilities, encourage innovation and responsibility, and create platforms where young people can interact with accomplished leaders and learn from their experience.
Osayere Alexander Afenyo-Markin, the Minority Leader, Republic of Ghana. Henry Nana Boachi, Esquire, National Organizer, New Patriotic Party. The chairman, the patron, executives, distinguished guests, lecturers, fellow members of the New Patriotic Party, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. Nation building begins with empowered people, especially young people who are prepared to lead, innovate, and serve. TESCON has over the years produced many leaders who have distinguished themselves in politics, business, academia, and public service. That legacy reminds us that leadership is not about position. It's about integrity, it's about competence, it's about discipline and service. As members of the Dankwa Buzi Adombo tradition, we believe that the greatest resource of any nation is its people. Empowering citizens through education, entrepreneurship, innovation, and opportunity is the surest path to national development.
Let me salute the hard-working TESCON executives. You have maintained the tradition. TESCON KsTU is known to be one of the most vibrant, one of the most visible TESCON units nationwide. And then also to the hardworking, somebody who is committed himself to energizing the base of TESCON nationwide. In fact, I have been part of TESCON for more than 2 decades. And I've never seen the leader in parliament, either we are in opposition or in power, who is committed himself, dedicated his time doing the work of TESCON than this man, Osahin Alexander Afenyo-Markin. Last week, or I think 2 weeks ago or last week, he was in this same building, right? Just last weekend, he was far away in University of Mines and Technology, Takwa. Before that, he had attended another program on University of Ghana campus. Just that he had also honored another event on the city campus. So the party is very happy with the work he's doing, the revival and the dedication he's bringing to TESCON again. So, Osahene, thank you very much for your good works. The special guest of honor is already seated. He is prepared. He's prepared for this event. But I just want to encourage you. I started like you, and I still feel that I'm part of you. Some 26 years ago, far away in Takwa, a young man just came out of Prempeh College, university postings, and I've been admitted. I got admission. Then it used to be KNUST School of Mines. And I started my party work there. I was a polling station chairman in Takwan Swayim constituency. I was the founding TESCON president, because when we were admitted, because there was a vibrant TESCON unit on KNUST campus, and it was the mother campus, we did not really have TESCON on campus. So we committed ourselves, myself and some other friends. We formed TESCON, we inaugurated it, and I became the first TESCON president. I have served at the constituency before then electoral area, I've done polling station work before, I've done regional work before, and again, on KNUST campus, when I was reading law, I also had great appetite to work for the party. I again was elected as the TESCON president 2011-2012 academic year. And I worked very hard. Unfortunately, we lost power in 2020-2008. We attempted to recapture power in 2012. Unfortunately, it did not work. So I have been a TESCON president when we were in power. That was when I was on UMAT campus. And also when we were in opposition. It is very difficult. And this is the time we need you. Working for the party in opposition requires dedication, commitment. You must be energetic to work for the party.
TESCON Victory 2028 is assured. Thank you very much. Our respected national organizer, Mr. Henry Nanabwachi, representative of the Member of Parliament for Subi, President of TESCON, Kumasi Technical University, and his executives, constituency officers here present, aspirants at the constituency level, regional level, who are here with us, my dear TESCON executives, TESCON members, students, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon to all of you. It is my distinct honor and high privilege to stand before you today in the garden city of West Africa to deliver this keynote address as your special guest of honor on the theme that every young Ghanaian in this country must take seriously. Quote, leadership and youth empowerment for nation building. I bring you warm greetings from your own caucus in Parliament, the mighty Minority Caucus. We are few and in opposition, but we influence the direction of governance in our country. So it's not about the numbers, it's about the quality of debate in the House. So though the NDC is 189, they are fewer than our mighty 87. Again, I bring you greetings from our flag bearer, Dr. Muhammadu Bawumia. Who asked me to tell you that you, the young patrons of TESCON, are not an afterthought. That your commitment, your organization, and your belief in this cause are the very fuel on which 2028 runs. And that the victory of 2028 begins right here and in this hall and this is very afternoon. My dear TESCON members, before I go further into what I have for you today, there is something I must address, because no event in this country this week, however important, can proceed without first acknowledging the pain that has visited us. On the morning of this Monday, torrential rain swept across our capital city and parts of Greater Accra region with ferocity this country has never seen before. The consequences were very devastating. Many have lost their lives. Homes were submerged. Businesses were destroyed. Roads disappeared. Families were separated in the dark. And as you sit in this very hall this afternoon, thousands of our fellow Ghanaians are still counting what the flood took from them. I beg of you to suddenly rise on your feet so we observe community silence in honor and memory of those who have lost their lives as a result of the flood.
May their souls rest in perfect peace. Amen. My dear TESCON members, I must now say that the theme of this program demands what I must say. This flooding is not a new problem. What is new is the government in charge of solving it. And the remarkable distance between what the government told us the problem was when they were in opposition and what they are telling us now that they are in power. When the president and his party were in opposition, they told us they had solutions to almost everything. Now, as they are before us, as our leaders, that this flood has come, they are telling us a different story. Communities have submerged, roads have been cut off, and Ghanaians are being told clearly, emphatically, that the flooding was not an engineering problem. They told us yesterday, when they were in opposition, that the floods in Ghana were a leadership problem. These are their words, not my words. They said drains were blocked because leaders did not enforce the laws. They said buildings were sitting on waterways because leaders looked the other way when the foundations were being poured. They said city flooded every year because the people in charge lacked the political will and that there was leadership failure. That was their own diagnosis. They were eloquent about it. They were very persuasive then, and many Ghanaians believed them. Today, we have them in charge and in government. And after the worst flooding this capital city has seen in a generation, after many lives were lost, after many people were exposed to danger, the government is back again telling us that the problem is engineering and not leadership. That is the walking contradiction of the NDC for you. And then there is a matter of how our leaders responded in the immediate hours after the disaster. The president himself took to his helicopter and conducted an area inspection of the affected communities, flying above the muddy waters and the submerged homes and the displaced families from the comfort of the sky. It was captured on camera. It was well choreographed. And when he landed, he announced that his government will release money from the contingency fund. Ghanaians watching from flooded sitting rooms were expected to be reassured. But our flag bearer did something different. Dr. Bawumia did not wait for the waters to fully recede. On Monday, Dr. Bawumia issued a statement in which he expressed grief over the loss of life, extended condolences to the bereaved families, and called on the government to treat this not as a seasonal inconvenience, but as a national emergency it is. He did not take to a helicopter. He did not fly above the pain and observe it from a safe distance. He went in. He walked through the mud of the affected communities. He sat with the bereaved. He looked the displaced in the eye. He stood in the spaces where families had lost everything, and he did not perform grief for the cameras. He shared it. And beyond the sympathy, he provided food and direct support to the affected families, because he understands that a leader who only visits suffering in a statement has not truly shown up. That is not the action of a politician looking for a camera. That is the action of a leader who understands that nation building begins with showing up when the nation is in pain. A problem solver, a man of solutions, and that is Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. Ladies and gentlemen and dear students, and on Tuesday the 1st of July, we, the Mighty Minority Caucus, took our concerns to the floor of Parliament. We made our case clearly and without apology. We called on government to present the full report of the Flood Management Task Force immediately. Without further delay, we demanded that ministries responsible should present a concrete and costed action plan to Parliament as a matter of urgency, because Ghanaians deserve to know not just what was lost, but what will be built differently so that 12 more lives or more are not lost next time the rains come. The contingency fund alone is an emergency measure. A plan has target, timelines, and accountability. We demand that the government must show a plan. I am particularly happy to be in the midst of young, energetic, and forward-looking patriots who have made the conscious decision to associate themselves with TESCON and with our great party, the New Patriotic Party. You have demonstrated commitment, you have demonstrated loyalty, and you have demonstrated belief in a cause bigger than yourselves. And my dear TESCON members, that is itself the first step of leadership. You chose something beyond your own convenience. In doing so, you have already begun building something. And what you are building is exactly what this theme calls us to examine tonight. You've already been told by the national organizer, Mr. Henry Nana Boakye, also known as Anabi, about his own life story, how he began, what he has gone through, and where he is today. Today you are a student. You may not even be an executive member of TESCON. You may just be a mere TESCON member. You never can tell where life will lead you to. All I want to tell you is be committed, be dedicated, be loyal. Your day of honor may be closer than you think. Whilst at this, let me commend again the executives of TESCON, Kumasi Technical University, led by its hard-working president, for organizing this program. Youth empowerment is a phrase many use without going deep into understanding what it means. Leadership is a word many claim cheaply. Nation building is a promise many make and abandon. TESCON, KsTU chose to put all three together and ask this campus to sit with the full weight of them. This is not a small act of courage, and it deserves recognition. And I so recognize it and acknowledge it. Members of academia here present, regional executives, TESCON members, students. Let us begin with the first word of our theme, leadership. It is the most used and least understood word in public life. Everyone who holds an office calls himself a leader. Every politician who wins a seat calls himself or herself a leader. But the word itself, in its truest meaning, is far more demanding, far costlier, and far more rare than everything the title alone can describe. Leadership, as I understand it, at its most fundamental, is a willingness to put the needs of others before your own, to carry a burden you did not create, to give your best years to a cause that may not reward you in your own lifetime, and to still believe with everything in you that the work is worth doing. Leadership is a standard you choose to be held to. A leader is not the person who holds the microphone the longest. A leader is a person who, when the microphone is taken from him, still works for the cause in the silence. Now, let me do the hardest thing by first ensuring that the test of leadership is 1. Can you sacrifice what you want for what is needed? Because the moment of leadership that truly reveals a person is never the moment of triumph. It is the moment of voluntary surrender. The moment when a man who has every right to advance, every credential to claim the seat, every justification to push forward, instead steps back, steps aside, and says, quote, "Not now, not me, not at this cost to the cause," end quote. This principle is not new to our tradition. It was aligned as far back as 1957 in the final push against Dr. Kwame Nkrumah's drive towards one-party state, when our forebears decided to come together and make a sacrifice. Amongst them was Chief Simon Diodon Dombo. He stood at the very peak of his political career. He led the Northern People's Party as its chairman. Our flag bearer, Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia's father, Alhaji Mumuni Bawumia, was the vice chairman of the Northern People's Party. They held 15 seats in parliament, more than Professor Buzia's own National Liberation Movement. By every ordinary measure of ambition and entitlement, the leadership of the new United Party in opposition, which was formed, should have belonged as of right to Chief Dombo. Yet, when the moment came to merge every anti-Nkrumah voice into one strong party to survive, Dombo did not insist on that right. He stepped aside and handed the leadership of the new UP party to Professor Buzia, choosing instead to serve as a deputy to a man whose own following was smaller than his. My dear TESCON members, let me be blunt with you about what that means. The cause must always outweigh any man. I repeat, the cause must always outweigh any man. That is the discipline. That is what Dombo planted in the roots of this tradition. And it is the same discipline I now ask of you as student members of this party. And let me share with you my own example. This time not historical, but the very man who is before you. I won my primaries in 2004. I was a very young man. My classmates came to call me to be a leader. By the way, it was never in my plans to get into politics. My plan really was to finish my law education, practice as a lawyer, be a businessman, and at a point become a judge and live a quiet life. But this was a day. It was an evening. I was preparing to get out of the country, and my primary school mates came to me in the house. And they said, "We won't allow you to travel. In Winneba, the one who won the primaries has stepped down, and all the youth are calling upon you to be their leader." I went into the primaries. I won. A day or two to the filing at the EC, the elders of Winneba said, "Winneba is an old city. You are too young to be our MP." We argued and argued and argued. The matter landed at the castle. President J.A. Kufuor, as he then was, sat in the meeting and presided. Eventually, they asked me to step down. I was too young. I wept. I was sad. But in the end, I accepted to step down for another person to take over. Then again, in 2008, the primaries I contested, there were 45 delegates, and one was disqualified, being the MP. There was an argument as to whether the parliamentary candidate, who himself was a sitting member of parliament, could be a delegate to vote. There was a decision that he could not vote. So we went into the voting. When they counted the votes, I had 22. The parliamentary candidate, who was a sitting MP, also had 22. So there was a tie. Then all of a sudden, the regional chairman said, "Oh, the MP can vote. Do you think he would vote for me?" He voted for himself. And he dropped the paper. They opened it. He voted for himself. So 22-23. Again, I had to accept it. Eventually, 2012 came. I contested again for the primaries, and this time, by the grace of God, I won. The elders now said, "You are now above 30 years, so we'll allow you to contest." And I contested. And here I am, 4 terms. I share this with you simply to tell you that oh, your politics are as a unya wabutre. So oh, your politics then we nya abutre and your politics are ubesa yade. Oh, your politics then we nya abutre udi wakumetria ubegu party. Oh, your politics then we nya abutre wankasa when you unyam krana onyankopon di ama won udi ebufu bese. And the story did not only end there. When we came into power in 2017, and President Akufo-Addo shared all the posts, I didn't even get a deputy minister. Selection may be uncoming. Even in parliament, my juniors were seniors. In parliament, there are positions apart from leadership. Every committee has its leadership. So you are either made a chairman or vice chair. So can you imagine that I was a senior, and then first timers were serving in the committee with me, and they were given the position chairman, vice chairman. I was Bob no rank. How would you feel? Ubejai party nana. Upe leadership wenya committee nsusu obi a oba ye na yamanu post. Wo de wo ye Bob no rank. Ye de me call ECOWAS parliament. E won so ye kodu ya na ntokwa. Ye say me resign na me resign be fi. When said they are reality. But today, this is me. So it can be you. Henry got to the podium and spoke like a prophet. He said he can see MPs here. He can see future executives of the party. He can see great men and women rising out of this forum. Believe in yourself. Have patience for destiny. Give time some time. And in the fullness of time, all things shall align. As students who have joined this great tradition, there's one thing I want you to do. Build relationship. The world has changed. It is not how smart you are. It's not how intelligent you are. It is the relationship you will build that will define how successful you become tomorrow. Take relationship as your infrastructure. Give it a solid foundation and let it stand. Don't look down on somebody because of his current circumstance. Accommodate the person. Tolerate. Manage relationship. I was able to go to secondary school because of relationship. And I'll tell you why. I come from a very poor home. My friends had rich parents. And when we passed our BEC, and my parent could not afford the admission fee to St. Augustine's, it's my friends who told their parents and convinced their parents to contribute to help me. And that is how come I went to St. Augustine's. In this life, it is a friend who will speak for you, who would render a tongue of good report in your favor. When your adversaries gather, it is a friend who will speak for you. You may not be there. In fact, a lot of the negative things that are said about you, you will not even get the opportunity of hearing. You need that good friend who will stand for you and make your destiny happen. So if you are here, build relationship, network, that will save you someday. And to the young ladies, those young poor men, those small boys, don't look down upon them. You never can tell tomorrow. Go, Bruno! Should I repeat it? You are beginners. I am 48. Henry is 45. There are others who are in their 50s, 60s. Life is complicated. Don't expect any easy life ahead of you. Life will test you. The society you join, you belong to, this fraternity, MPP will test you. Don't think everything will be easy. You go through trials. It is your God, your relationship that will carry you through. So take it as your watchword. It's only through this that you can survive. And that day, when it comes and you start enjoying, remember that it was this afternoon, this day, that I shared that life experience with you. My dear student, let me take you to the next pillar of leadership, employment. Leadership empowers to create employment. When leadership is unable to empower, then leadership has failed. So leadership without empowerment is not a legacy, which is because a generation of leaders who cannot produce the next generation of leaders has led, we cannot talk about any legacy. And a party that does not actively empower its young people is not a party building for the future. Because the leaders and the seniors who came before us prepared us. We are here and in charge, and we are preparing you. So when some 20 years and more, I was at UCC, and that old politician, J.H. Mensah, came to Casford and addressed us. And I was listening to him the way you are listening to me. Little did I know, that was 1999. He was coming to talk to us. He was also leading a mighty minority in Parliament. At the time, the seats in Parliament were 200, and MPP had only 61. So J.H. Mensah and other MPs were touring campuses, talking to us. When I was seated among the students, I was not there as a TESCON president. Neither was I there as a member of the executive of TESCON. I sat as a young student among the few who were there to listen, the room was not full like this. You would even be afraid to associate yourself in politics because you feared being victimized. But here, you can also lead this party someday in parliament. Your time will come. So to empower a young person is to give them more than a seat on the table. It is to give them the tools, the training, the exposure, and the trust they need to build tables of their own. Empowerment is a transfer of confidence backed by capability. It is what happens when a leader looks at a young person and says not, quote, "You are too young," end quote, but says to that young person, "I believe," quote, "you are ready," end quote. It is what happens when a party looks at a Mamprusi son of the far north, a man from Walewale, and says, quote, "We want you as our presidential candidate to lead the party into victory 2028. My dear students, over the years, TESCON has evolved into a powerful engine of exactly this kind of empowerment. It has nurtured young minds, sharpened political thoughts, and instilled the discipline, loyalty, and vision required of national leaders. And like I said, generation after generation, the new generation is prepared to take over the mantle of leadership. Many TESCON alumni are now in parliament, in the private sector, and in civil society, and their records are a proof that TESCON is not merely about student politics. It is about preparing the next generation of patriotic leaders. And if you want a single name, a single career that demonstrates what TESCON empowerment can produce when a young person commits fully to the cause, let me give you one. The man, Asensu Boakye, his story should be a story that must inspire you. Francis Asensu Boakye courageously took up the mantle as the first president of TESCON, providing leadership, structure, and direction to the emerging movement when it was still finding its feet. And by the way, for the record, TESCON was launched first in Ghana at KNUST by our then candidate, J.A. Kufuor. Today, that same young man, through years of sacrifice, dedication, and service, has risen to become a proud second-termer of Parliament, representing the good people of Bantama. He served as a Deputy Chief of Staff during the first term of President Akufo-Addo and went on to hold critical ministerial roles, serving as Minister for Works and Housing and later as Minister for Roads and Highways. So, my dear TESCON members, the first president of this organization has today serving his second term, former Deputy Chief of Staff, a former Cabinet Minister. Do not tell anyone that TESCON is a student hobby. It is a leadership incubator, and more evidence are in Parliament. And this brings me to the most powerful case for what youth empowerment and inclusiveness look like when they are genuine. There is a tired falsehood our opponent love to repeat, that the new patriotic party is a party of one tribe, of one region, and one narrow circle of privilege. I stand before you as the first answer to that charge. But the fuller answer is the tradition from which this party was built. This party, ladies and gentlemen, traces its philosophical roots to the union of three great men: Joseph Boakye Dankwa of the South, Kofi Abrifa-Busia of the Middle Belt, and Simon Diodon Dombo of the Upper West. From its founding, this party was built by leaders who crossed every line that divided their contemporaries because they understood that empowering a nation requires empowering all of it, not just comfortable parts. Dr. Mahamadou Bawumia is a Mamprisi son of Wale Wale. In 2008, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo chose him as his running mate, empowering a Northerner and a Muslim for the highest ticket in the land when this country had never seen anything like it. Dr. Bawumia gave up the comfort of a distinguished central banking career to answer the call. We lost narrowly in 2008, and in 2012, we presented him again and lost again. But when the party challenged that result before the Supreme Court, in the first presidential election petition in our nation's history, it was Dr. Bawumia who stood alone in the witness box, cross-examined for days on national television, and never flinched. In 2016, we won. In 2020, we won again. For 8 years, he served as a vice president, building the nation through digital transformation. In 2023, this party chose him as flag bearer, the first Northerner and a Muslim ever to lead the New Patriotic Party into a general election. We lost in December 2024. In January of this year, the party went back to its delegates and asked them whether Dr. Bawumia should lead us again for 2028 election. And my dear TESCON members, a party that empowers again a man who has been tested 5 times in victory and in defeat, in a witness box and on campaign platform, and chooses him not out of sentiment, but out of proven merit, is a party that understands what investing in young people for the long haul truly means. That is inclusiveness in practice. That is diversity with substance. That is empowerment that produces leaders. And I further submit that empowerment does not carry one face alone. When this party needed a deputy minority leader, a woman, member of parliament for Asika, who rose to that responsibility, leadership, empowerment, and nation building in this tradition were every face of Ghana, and that is all we have, and all of it, we have it. And I stand here not only using the Dr. Bawumia example, but I use myself again as an example. Some of you may be students who love this party, maybe an Nzima, maybe a Gonja, maybe an Anglo man like myself, may belong to a tribe which is little known, and somebody could come and tell you that don't join MPP because of your tribe. Tell that person that MPP is the only party that cherishes, that acknowledges diversity and inclusiveness. MPP is not a tribal party. MPP is not for the majority. MPP is not for a few. MPP belongs to all of us. When that person is pressing further, let the person know that Afenyo-Markin, who is a minority leader, his father is an Anglo man. He is from Volta region. His mother is an Efutu woman from Winneba. Winneba, Efutu is a small community. And in any event, in 2024 elections, Central region only had 4 seats. Ashanti region had 39 seats. The question is, if the MPP is for the majority and is always focusing on big tribes, would Afenyo-Markin be the minority leader? What does that tell you? That in MPP, it is hard work, dedication, loyalty. Your tribe, your religion would not matter. So if you are a student in this room, have hope in MPP. We as a party rely on inclusiveness and diversity for the purposes of nation building. Therefore, now we reach the 3rd pillar of our theme, the one that gives the first two their ultimate justification. Because leadership without nation building is just an ambition, and youth empowerment without nation building is just energy. Everything we do in politics, every sacrifice we make, every position we fill, must ultimately be pointed at one destination: a better, stronger, and a more just Ghana. Let me show you what that looks like when it is done, and what it looks like when it is not. When President Kufuor led this country from 2001 to 2009, he gave our country National Health Insurance Scheme, the first serious commitment that poverty alone will not decide who received medical care. He abolished the basic school fees through the capitation grant. He introduced the school feeding program and the National Youth Employment Program. He steered us through the highly indebted poor countries process, lifting a crushing debt burden from the shoulders of the next generation. Each of those decisions was a stone laid in the foundation of a nation. President Kufuor's government also took the risk and invested in the discovery of oil. It was in Kufuor's era that Ghana struck oil. Ghana discovered oil, and NDC did not even believe that the story was true. Back in the day, their women organizers sat on Peace FM and described it as Ajongo. But today, the oil revenue we get from the discovery of oil is now part of the pool of revenue that has added to national development, all to the hard work of NPP. Kufuor invested heavily in agriculture, supported cocoa farmers, introduced the mass spraying, gave our cocoa farmers inputs, and for the first time in the history of our country, cocoa harvests, cocoa production hit the 1 million mark. No government ever invested in cocoa production to reach that level of production. It was only under MPP that we got 1 million tons of cocoa production, and that was under President Kufuor. Then Akufo-Addo took over. Even before then, when Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo spoke about free education, the NDC poo-pooed him. They said all manner of things about him. They ridiculed him. In fact, on the 6th March, they will be marching. Free education, 419. Free education, 419. That is what the NDC did. The NDC never believed that Ghana could ever have free SHS. Like they did to Kufuor. When Kufuor was introducing the free medical care program, they said even America, the United States of America, healthcare was not free. So Ghana could not achieve that. That's what they did to Kufuor, but Kufuor did it. So Akufo-Addo introduced the free SHS program, made sure that TVET was also free, and for the private sector, Akufo-Addo introduced a one district, one factory to create an opportunity for the private sector. This is nation building, and this is leadership. And by the way, I want to ask a question. We often hear Kufuor bus. Have you ever heard Ataman's bus? Have you heard Mahama bus? Have you heard Rollins bus? Which bus do you hear? Because it was Kufuor's time. It was Kufuor who activated the public transport system and imported these long buses into our country that connected to the villages. And that is how come, long after he has left, we the people of Ghana still recognize him as the man of action who introduced this mass transport system. We call it Kufuor bus. Ladies and gentlemen, and my dear students, the point I am making here is that although our party, our tradition is a center right in its ideology, we believe in free enterprise. We believe in private sector, but underneath it, at the heart of our principles, is the fact that we introduce social intervention programs to help the poor, to create social equilibrium, and to create a balance so that the poor would be lifted through these social intervention programs. The NDC, they believe that society must be helped. But your friends who are TAIN members, your friends who are NDC members, when you leave this hall and you meet them on campus and you are debating with them, ask them one question, that they should tell us a single social intervention program that NDC sustained, introduced and sustained. There is none. They are confirmed that they brought. They all flew to where? Burkina Faso. So the NDC has no single social intervention program that it introduced and implemented successfully that any Ghanaian can point to it and say this was a handiwork of NDC. They have none. But we, the MPP, since 1992, the two opportunities that we had to govern this country, we can cite several examples. The national identification card, the health insurance, the school feeding, the free maternal care, the cocoa mass spraying, the free compulsory basic education, the free SHS, the STEM program, the TVET program, the One District, One Factory, the Golden Age of Business Initiative. We can go on and on and on. So it tells you the difference between MPP and NDC. It is like day and night. We can cite all these as examples of governance, building our nation, putting in place the infrastructure. They have none. They cannot even cite one. And that is what I want you in this room to challenge them when you meet them for debates on politics. Debate them. They are full of certain rhetorics and they only talk. They can talk more and do less. They promised that they were going to do one job, 3 shifts. They said 24-hour economy. If you ask them what that means, they don't even have a uniform explanation as to what 24-hour economy means. They said they were going to set up banks in all regional capitals, in all district capitals, to support our women to do their trading. 1 year, 6 months. 419 is a scam. They promised cocoa farmers that they would increase the farm gate price to 6,000 Ghana cedis. Today, when they came into office, they have rather reduced the price of cocoa. MPP aban baya Akufo-Addo edienim. Cocoa ekuafo sebe embre tumbre yeto omkoko bag no ebo. NDC say ni Akufo-Addo aye bia no enye Akufo-Addo e di cocoa price no per bag e di call 3,100. NDC for ye campaign omo say e wo form so omo na omo wa aban mu a nka omo de be cost 6,000. Enti Ghana for nto aban fama omo. No omo for cocoa price no cost 6,000. And then omunya amembo tumi no. Cocoa 3,100 na Akufo-Addo di jaye no. Omo di akọ 2,500. Where ya ban papa? Omo say Akufo-Addo ntumi anhwe galamsey an entutu ase an stop galamsey. So omo di omo ba galamsey no esubetwa. And then omo akoti gold board. Omo to galamsey gold. Enti enuanum amowa memba ne me wo fasefo a mu suade. Ewie nkomodi a me di ni nyina no. Dia mema mate ase ne se ye ka parties mienu e wo Ghana omo ebu oman na ye party MPP no ye dia bakosam to ho akenkan dia ayaye no waban mu a the ayayeno, a soon, a tre, change the ayenyanum and this for no more by Omoye. Na sabi, emebe no mo ba, no mo de tribalism, e de badada. The person me catch them say, MPP party kono, and yes, a sabi, we are Santinia and a Ubenya position. Wufi krobi mwa and a recognize it. MPP ya Ghana party and found one will try, and found one baby a wufri. And from when it was summa was some, so obey Jumadin, Eddie or dog, any uncle can't obey Jumama party. No, so what to me, yes, Anna, and from who's a war godfather, and I wouldn't godfather. A young couple other Roma near Jumadin. Now I say, oh, Afenyo, who the woofy voter, who my miffy futu, now so a Jumadin, yet the minority leader 2 minutes Esha. Yeah, Papa, Dr. Baumia. Obi beka say, hey, oye kremoni. Na kremoni so de ade na say oye flag bearer. Officerem ye mfa amano. Debi MPP yes anetie. Wo hwe from 57. Time Ghana J fanwudie. Ebe pimende. This is the first time Ghana politics kremoni enya party bi franca say or to say presidential candidate. We shall Ghana history from Kwame Nkrumah, what they bus 69, Buzi Ambreso, what they call Liman Ambreso, Edeba Rollins 92, Abba Pimende. It is the first time a Muslim has been made the flag bearer of a major political party. It is NDC for no krana and never breno. Omuko zongo community kwaji vote no omun to me and ye say omun ye a Muslim, they are flag bearer. So if you are here and you are a Muslim, I want you to know that MPP has broken that barrier, that a religion is a barrier to your political rise in this country. MPP has proven say it doesn't matter which religion, that if you are a Muslim, you have equal opportunity to lead this party. And it is our party that has given true meaning to that equality. You should embrace MPP. Memma obi ambedada. Memma obi mbetwumfi party no. Memma obi mbeka assembly engu asum. Believe in this party and the equal opportunity it offers. I will conclude by quoting what our flag bearer said. On the 7th of February 2024, at the University of Professional Studies, Accra, Dr. Baumia stood before the nation and spoke of building in his own words, quote, "My vision is to create a tent big enough to accommodate all our people, to tap into the resourcefulness and talent of our people, irrespective of our different ethnic, political, and religious backgrounds, to channel our energies into building the kind of country that assures a good self-sufficient, safe, prosperous, and dignified future for all Ghanaians, to create sustainable jobs with meaningful pay for all, and for Ghana to participate fully in the 4th industrial revolution using system and data," end quote. So, my dear students, the tent exists to draw on all talents of every Ghanaian, regardless of tribe, party, or faith, channeling the energies of our people into a Ghana that feeds itself, that is safe, that is prosperous, and that treats every citizen with dignity. Dr. Baumia spoke of sustainable jobs with meaningful pay and of a Ghana participating fully in the 4th industrial revolution, governed by systems and data, rather than connections and favor. So, my dear TESCON members, notice how precisely that tent maps onto this campus. The engineer, the technologist, the applied scientist, the business student, the creative art practitioner, all of you belong inside that tent of Dr. Bawumia. A Ghana governed by systems and data does not need a politician to do it. It needs the efficacy of the system. It needs the professionals, problem solvers, and skilled thinkers graduating from institutions exactly like this one. You are not spectators to the nation Dr. Bawumia wants to build. You are the raw materials. And that means the work you do here on this campus, in TESCON, in your studies, and in your relationships with your colleagues is the beginning of that. So, my dear TESCON members, I come now to my final word for you. I've shown you what empowerment looks like, and I've shown you what nation building looks like when it is the product of service before self, rather than self-service. The question that remains belongs entirely to you. What would you do with it? Carry the truth of our record and the truth of this government failures into every faculty, every hostel, and every corner of this campus. Register to vote. Mobilize every person around you to do same, because a vote you cast is for nation building under the vision of Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia. J.B. Dankwa believed that a young Ghana deserved to govern itself. That belief became democratic tradition you carry this afternoon. Busia believed that governance without accountability was tyranny wearing a different name. That belief became the principal standard this party holds itself. Dombo believed that the cause must always outweigh any man. That stepping back when the movement demands is not weakness, but the highest form of leadership. That belief is the discipline I have tried to demonstrate to you this afternoon with my own stories. And it is the discipline I now ask every one of you in this room to inculcate. So here is my charge. Rise and recruit until every department on this campus knows what TESCON stands for. Rise and defend the truth of our record against every distortion this government's machinery sends your way. Rise and register, because a vote not cast is a voice not heard. Rise and remain united, and when 2028 finally arrives, rise and deliver this country whole and unbroken back into the hands of the new patriotic party. And as I say that, I tell you this and I repeat it, that a united MPP is stronger. So unity, unity, unity. Repeat after me.